Earlier on Mornings on the Hill, a trolley accident kills a Syracuse student.
2 key Syracuse football players are out for the season.
The planned removal of the Christopher Columbus statue causes an uproar in the community.
All that plus your weather and orange sports coming up on this edition of Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, I'm Sayer Williams. It's Wednesday, October 14th.
And I'm Josh Miller. We're broadcasting live from our NCC News studio in Newhouse 2. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill. Tragic news in this morning on the Syracuse campus. A student is dead following a collision with a trolley last night. Our Ford Hatchett is standing just outside where the tragedy occurred. And Ford, what can you tell us about the student involved?
Yeah, Josh, the entire Syracuse community heartbroken this morning at the loss of Trevor Daly Pierce. You can see the makeshift memorial behind me on the corner of Comstock and Waverly. It was just after 9 p.m. last night we received word that the Syracuse University freshman had lost his life after a collision with a trolley at this intersection.
Overnight, support flowing in for Trevor Daly Pierce. Classmates and strangers alike leaving comments on social media to remember the first-year student. One comment reading, "Rest easy, Trevor. Thank you for the difference you made in our community." Another saying, "You'll always be part of the Orange family." It was just before dusk Tuesday evening when Pierce was struck by a Syracuse University trolley at the intersection of Comstock and Waverly Avenues. Kyle Leff was one of the first students on the scene just after the collision.
The student was laying on the ground, their skateboard was there. One student was giving chest compressions, and then 2 ambulances came within about 30 seconds or so.
Pierce was rushed to Upstate Medical Center just blocks away around 5:30 p.m., leaving behind a skateboard and a worried campus. Syracuse police saying he was in critical condition just after 8 o'clock, but tragically Pierce was pronounced dead just a short time later. A native of southern New Hampshire, Pierce was enrolled in the Renee Crown University Honors Program, majoring in political philosophy. He was even part of the Honors Living Learning community in Sadler Hall, and his loss is as unexpected as it is devastating.
But it was a scary scene. There was a lot of crying happening afterwards, and people were clearly freaked out. Everyone in the area was just freaked out and concerned for the kid.
And I should note that interview with Kyle Leff was conducted before we received the news that Pierce had tragically passed away. The Syracuse Police Department says their investigation into the incident is ongoing, and we'll be sure to provide you updates and details as we get them throughout the rest of the day. But here on the SU campus, it's a somber morning as everyone mourns the loss of a bright light taken far too soon. Sayara?
This is a very unthinkable loss for our community, and we are extending our condolences for anyone affected by the loss of Trevor. There are mental health resources available both on campus and off campus, accessible to students. Please visit the Barnes Center website to view a full list. In-person learning for SU's fall semester is hanging on by a thread. Our reporter Ryan Clark joins us live to tell us what we can expect. Ryan?
Well, thanks, guys. Syracuse University is one of the very few colleges and universities that has stayed open during the COVID-19 pandemic. But after an off-campus party that occurred in a massive COVID outbreak in Walnut Park, SU administration says students may be at fault if classes become virtual.
At the end of the day, we just cannot tolerate this one single incident. Still very well could be one that evolves to the point where it impacts our ability to stay open.
According to the Syracuse coronavirus dashboard, that party caused a massive spike in cases, around 20 a day over a 4-day span, the largest increase in active cases since the semester began. Haney says that unlike the past, this COVID outbreak came from student ignorance, not a carrier from another city. The dashboard now shows a total of 97 active cases on campus. At Syracuse University's new policies from the beginning of this semester, Vice President Michael Haney said that a required 100 cases in a 2-week span would cause the university to go on an academic freeze. That freeze entailed online classes for all and a suspension of all on and off-campus activities. Now Michael Haney says he does not want to comment on that situation and does not know if it's possible. Reporting live for Mornings on the Hill, I'm Ryan Clark.
Ever wonder what it's like to be an SU student in quarantine? Our Samantha Crossan takes an inside look at the procedures Syracuse University has in place when a student tests positive for COVID-19 or comes in contact with someone who has.
Some colleges have already made the transition to virtual learning because of a spike in COVID-19 cases. Despite its large size, Syracuse University has proved doubters wrong by successfully continuing in-person learning for over half of the semester. In large part, this success can be attributed to the precautionary measures SU takes with students who may have COVID-19. How do I know this? Because I'm living through it right now. After notifying the Barnes Health Center that I had been in direct contact with someone who had COVID, they sprang into action. The first step was being tested at Flanagan, a center on campus that has been transformed into a COVID-19 testing site. I was surprised to find out that testing negative meant I would need to quarantine for 4 more days than if I had tested positive. The reason why is because according to the CDC, it can take up to 14 days after exposure to the virus to develop symptoms. Because of this, I was sent straight to the Sheridan Hotel to start my quarantine. As stressful as this experience can be, SU students who have survived a quarantine say that Syracuse's efforts are a big reason why the campus hasn't closed.
I really do think that that's one of the things that has kept us, at least so far, from shutting down or being sent home, is that they're able to quickly identify the students and then they have a place for them to go.
SU pays for every night a student stays at the Sheridan. They also provide 3 meals per day. For some students, there were also additional resources in the hotel room.
A flu kit with cough drops and tissues and a couple of other things. A mental health little kit that had Play-Doh and coloring sheet.
A woman from the Dean of Students office reached out to me personally and asked me how I was doing, like emotionally or mentally with the situation. So that was like a really nice resource to have.
My only complaint? The Sheridan had a great view of the one place I wanted to be but couldn't, Newhouse. Outside of that, great job, SU. Keep up the good work.
Now we want to welcome Samantha back. She has completed her quarantine. First, Sam, we're glad you're okay and you're healthy. We want to know, what were some emotions you were feeling having to quarantine?
Yeah, thanks so much, Josh. Well, I have to say, at first I was feeling a little bit anxious. I knew that I was going to be missing out on some of my in-person learning, which is the way I like to learn. I knew I was missing out on some relationship building with classmates and professors. But now, after being on the other side of it, I feel hopeful. And I feel really proud of all the things that Syracuse University has done to protect students. I think a lot of people thought that we would fail maybe week 1 or 2 into it. And here we are, more than halfway through the semester, and we've been doing a really good job for the most part. So I'm happy about that.
Definitely some adversity, and SU has done a good job with students and adapting to their requirements and needs. What would you tell students that are in quarantine or might have to in the future?
Bottom line, nothing lasts forever. And I think that's something that's really important to keep in mind when you're going through it. I was really anxious at first in thinking about what am I going to be missing out on? And for us grad students, we only have a year to make the most of our experiences here. So I was feeling a little bit worried about missing out on some of those opportunities. But at the end of the day, if it means that we all get to stay on campus, then that's a decision that any of us would want to make.
Thank you, Sam. Again, we're glad you're okay. This past week, Syracuse University held its annual Remembrance Week. However, events surrounding the week did look a little different this year. Our Maya Lockett is live with more.
Okay, I'm gonna say thank you. Thank you, Josh. Yes, SU students still remember the 35 students in 1988 who lost their lives due to a plane explosion caused by a terrorist attack. And even during a pandemic, the Remembrance Committee put on a beautiful remembrance to honor the lives and legacies of those lives lost. I have more on the story.
I was a student here in 1988 when this happened, so I bring that historical perspective to it.
For 15 years, Kelly Radowski has been a part of the Remembrance Committee.
I think the first reaction was just utter shock, and then just this deep, deep sadness. It felt like a cloud was hanging over this university for so long after that happened.
Each year, an SU student receives a scholarship in honor of one of the SU students that passed away on that tragic day. They are also in charge of coming up with a new idea for Remembrance Week.
So they find new and inventive ways of keeping this tragedy in everybody's minds.
In 2012, one of the ways they began honoring the students was by putting chairs in front of the school.
Each chair has a seat number on the back that designates where each of the students were sitting when the plane fell from the sky.
So I feel very connected to Ken, and the experience sitting here in the chairs really puts you in their shoes and is a very meaningful display for the community.
Families of the victims attend Remembrance Week every year, but due to COVID, they were not able to.
The families are very grateful that we continue to remember their children and their brothers and sisters.
But no matter the circumstances, the committee plans to continue keeping their memory alive.
Because we're at the point, and we passed this point several years ago, of where today's students weren't born when this happened. So we have to continue to keep it at the forefront, not only to keep the memories alive, but to continue to learn from this tragedy.
Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, Mayor Walsh's recent decision on the Columbus statue and Columbus Circle sparks anger amongst some local residents. This story and more, stay tuned. Our Mornings on the Hill weather enthusiast Sierra Ryder is live out on the deck to tell us what to expect today. Sierra, how's it looking out there?
Good Wednesday morning to you, Josh and Sierra, and everyone tuning in at home. It is a crisp, beautiful fall Wednesday morning. A great day to break out that fall pea coat I know you guys have all been dying to wear. Well, let's just dive right into the numbers for today. So looking at your hourly forecast this Wednesday, as you can see, the temperatures will just barely hit the 60s in the mid-afternoon. So your lunch break may be a good opportunity to go for that walk and run just to stretch your legs and soak up the sun. The skies will remain clear the whole day, which will leave the skies open, and the temperatures are going to dip back down into the 40s this evening. Here's the good news. The chance for rain tomorrow is low, only 10% in Syracuse, but don't get too comfortable with the dry weather because it is coming in hot in the next few days. Friday and Saturday, all with around a 50% chance of rain. And the temperatures are going to stay in the 50s both of those days with a low of the 40s. The end of the weekend, there is going to be another nice 60-degree day on Sunday, heading your way just in time for those last-minute weekend fall festivities. Hey guys, so listen, the weather right now is about 55 degrees. It's a little bit chilly. As you can see, I've got my fall coat on, but it's going to heat up to around 60 degrees, so it's a great Wednesday morning and should be a good day. Back to you in the studio.
Did you know near campus there is a Center for Peace and Social Justice? It's actually really cool. I went and checked it out. The Syracuse Center for Peace and Social Justice may look like just an old building from the outside, but its purpose and the organizations it holds within are much more important.
We try to bring peace and social justice groups, for instance, a Peace Council, Public Citizen, Immigration Group, the Workers Center, Unchained.
Currently, there are 7 different social justice groups housed within the center, including Black Lives Matter and the Syracuse Peace Council, all with one common goal: to solve many of the issues citizens are concerned about.
And they could collaborate. Instead of having all of these little groups out there, they could share their knowledge, their concerns, and hopefully work together.
It's pretty unique in that there is this collaboration all under one roof for each of these, the potential for each of these 7 not-for-profit groups.
The center is special because not only does it help with knowledge and collaboration, but it provides these organizations with a much lower cost.
The fact that we've been able to start out and continue offering rents that are below market value, I think is really huge for each of the groups.
Although the building hasn't been as populated as it usually is due to COVID-19, the center will continue to be a point for peace and social justice here in the Syracuse community. Josh Miller, NCC News.
Walsh announced that the Christopher Columbus statue will be removed and the Columbus Circle will be renamed. James Corrigan joins us live from the statue to tell us more. James?
Sarah, Mayor Walsh's decision, which came on Columbus Day weekend no less, added fuel to the fire of what's been a contentious saga in Syracuse. The indigenous communities have hailed the decision as progress, while Italian Americans who gathered here this past Monday for a wreath-laying ceremony says that Columbus is part of their heritage.
It's an insult, the mayor of Syracuse, what he's doing to the Italian communities in Syracuse and the surrounding areas. We are very proud of our heritage.
Proud may be an understatement, as hundreds of Italian Americans gathered downtown on Monday to honor the legacy of a man they consider a symbol of their success.
Today's a celebration of all the immigrants that have come to make our country what it is today, and to honor those that came behind us and that will come after us, so we don't forget what our country was made of.
Today's ceremony was held under a dark cloud for the monument supporters after Mayor Walsh made the decision Friday to remove the statue and rename Columbus Circle.
To Mayor Walsh, it's sad because he handpicked the committee himself. They already knew what they were going to vote for.
The ceremony was organized by the Columbus Monument Corporation, who says Columbus is not the man opponents say he is.
He treated the Native Americans with dignity and respect, and unfortunately, that education is not being taught in the schools today.
They're wrong. It's documented what he did.
Regina Jones is the head of the Native Student Program at SU and was on the original focus group to decide the future of the monument.
The statue being there was a representation of the atrocities that were done against our people when the Europeans invaded our lands.
The Native Student Program includes 87 students from a wide range of Native cultures and was one of the many Native groups that opposed the statue. Its president is Senior Nathan Abrams.
I would encourage anyone who would like to venerate Christopher Columbus to read into the history, read into what he's done, the impacts that he and his legacy have had on Indigenous people.
Now, the Columbus Monument Corporation has said that they will fight Mayor Walsh's decision in court, but the likelihood still remains that the wreath-laying ceremony will be the last of its kind here at Columbus Circle. Reporting live downtown, James Cargan, Mornings on the Hill.
October marks the celebration of the LGBTQIA+ community, and SU's LGBT Resource Center is hosting events throughout the entire month. Tonight from 7 to 8 p.m., the LGBT Resource Center is inviting students to join a queer Latinx guest speaker for a discussion about storytelling during social justice movements. The event is called Our Bones Glow in the Dark, the Power of Storytelling in the Digital Space.
Amy Coney Barrett is facing the third day of her Senate confirmation hearing in Washington today. Our Rob Flax joins us live. Rob, what issues were raised in the last 2 days, and what can we expect?
That's right, guys. Well, Coney Barrett is testifying this morning, but if her performance today is anything like the last couple of days, those senators are not going to get the answers to the questions they want answered. Barrett repeatedly dodging questions about Roe v. Wade, gun rights, and voter suppression. She says that she has no political bias, and the only thing motivating her when she's looking at a case is the case before her and the Constitution.
Count me down. Can't pre-commit or say, yes, I'm going in with some agenda, because I'm not. I don't have any agenda. I have no agenda to try to overrule Casey. I have an agenda to stick to the rule of law and decide cases as they come.
Barrett is a constitutional originalist, which means she looks at the Constitution as written, but even she admits there is some leeway there. We'll see if Democrats actually push her to clarify where that leeway is today, but we don't think that's going to happen. If her performance is anything like the last couple of days, she's not going to give them any of those questions. Rob Flax, Mornings on the Hill. Stay with us.
Good morning. I'm Samantha Croston with your Orange Sports Update here on Mornings on the Hill. This weekend, SU had a trio of losses. Women's volleyball faced off against Kentucky and fell short in both matches. This was their first loss of the season. The good news, star hitter Paulina Shemanova surpassed 1,000 kills. SU football had a showdown this Saturday against Duke. The Orange led briefly at the top of the second quarter, but let the game run away. There were 10 unanswered points into the third, and the final was 38-24. DeVito injured his left leg early in the fourth quarter and could potentially be out for the long term. Rex Culpepper will replace DeVito as the starting quarterback. All-American safety Andre Sisco is also out for the season, and he plans to enter the 2021 NFL Draft. Bottom line, there are two very big shoes to fill.
Men's soccer faced off against Notre Dame Sunday afternoon. The Fighting Irish took the lead in the 6th minute, and SU was never able to match that. The men in the orange fought hard, but Notre Dame goalie Keegan McLaughlin had 4 saves to shut Syracuse out 1-0. The one win of the weekend came from the women's field hockey team, who also matched up against Duke. Syracuse took a 3-2 lead in the 43rd minute of play. Just a minute later, Duke scored a goal, bringing the game to a tie. The winning goal was scored in the 53rd minute by junior Lori Graziosi, securing the Orange victory. Syracuse freshman Florine Van Botslier was named ACC Offensive Player of the Week after tallying 2 goals in the win against Duke. We spoke with Syracuse field hockey beat reporter on the Orange success.
Biggest highlight for the field hockey team was just their offense, because they've kind of had a slow start on that regard, and so like they scored 4 goals this past week, and it wasn't just 4 unanswered, it was, you know, back and forth goals. So they've got a tough weekend, but I mean it sucks that they can't play like any of their home matches, but these will be 3 really good games. North Carolina's gonna be really tough, but I think they can use the Wake Forest game to bounce back from it.
Cuse hockey hits the road for a trio of games next weekend. The Orange opens up the weekend against North Carolina on Friday. Then they will head to Wake Forest for 2 matches, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. But one former Orange player led a community event over the weekend. Our Matt Majinski was at Kirk Park where the event took place.
2020 has been a challenging year, but the Syracuse community continues to work together to become a team.
Bringing the community back together. We can't do it by ourselves. It takes the whole community to come together to make changes.
So former SU Hoops legend Eric Devendorf teamed up with the Syracuse Police Department for a free basketball camp for kids in the area.
Kids need someone to look up to, and after the kids see someone on TV, then they see them in real life, and they know it's real.
Sledge's 2 sons were pleasantly surprised.
Kind of didn't tell them, so I didn't want to spoil it. So when they came down here, they were excited.
The event ran for 4 hours, and campers received free haircuts, backpacks, shoes, shirts, and food. And this event wouldn't have been made complete without a special appearance by Devendorf himself. The former Syracuse star was 3 for 3 in bringing the community together, cheering on the kids at the camp, showing off individual instructions, and of course, giving buckets to the community too.
I got here in 2005, and ever since the day I stepped foot in this city, they've supported me wholeheartedly. So it's my job to be able to reciprocate that and give it back. Just trying to bring these kids into a positive environment, man, and hopefully they can build their confidence and lead to bigger things.
Events like these are what keeps the Syracuse community stronger than ever. And Devendorf wrapped up the camp with a message to the youth.
And everybody's situation is different, but that doesn't mean that you're going to fail. What it means is it might be a little bit tougher than somebody else. Together on 3, loud. 1, 2, 3, together!
Well, Eric Devendorf played 4 years inside the Carrier Dome, and he still stands at 14th on SU's all-time scoring list. And this weekend, he brought change to the community, more important than any statistic ever could be. Devo told me that he continues to want to bring events like this to Syracuse. Matt Majinski, Mornings on the Hill.
There's a lot to be excited about this weekend. On Friday, field hockey will match up against North Carolina and volleyball plays Boston College. Then, Saturday, football is back in action against Liberty. Kickoff is 12 p.m. Be sure to watch and tweet us your reactions. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Samantha Croston. Back to you, Sierra.
After last week's spike in COVID cases, many students went into the weekend unsure what may lie ahead. Xavier Brown spoke with students on their worries that the weekend would result in more positive cases.
I spoke with students here on campus, and they are worried that we might end up going remote. The university resets its COVID-19 test numbers every 2 weeks, and those results then let us know if we will be here in person or if we will then go remote.
The recent spike in COVID numbers this weekend has made students nervous for the final outcome. Will we be able to stay in person?
I was definitely nervous when I first heard about it, and seeing all the numbers rise, and I had some friends myself who tested positive and had to go into quarantine, and so That definitely made me nervous.
Some students said they were afraid of what was going to happen because people they knew tested positive for the virus. Some even started taking extra precaution, even more than before.
Well, I think I've definitely been more socially distanced because, I mean, they ended like the activity, so the Barn Center couldn't go there anymore. So.
There will be no gatherings outside of school-related gatherings. All other activities have been postponed until further notice. The university is working hard to keep the students in person. Still, students worry.
I'm a little worried, but our numbers have gone down before, so I'm sure it's not going to be bad. I think, at least, I'm hoping it's not going to be bad. I think I've been more socially distant. I think I've just been more aware also of what's going on. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
We will keep you updated as the numbers come in from the university. I'm Xavier Brown with Mornings on the Hill.
That is going to do it for us this Wednesday here on Mornings on the Hill. I'm Sayer Williams. Follow us on social media.
And I'm Josh Miller. Thanks for watching Orange Nation. We'll see you next Wednesday live at 10 a.m. right here on OTN.